My name is Elyse Wild, and you are listening to women's lifestyle magazine, Inspired Voices. Welcome to episode 2 of Inspired Voices. Today we are featuring a conversation with Janay Browerer, owner and founder of Public Thread, a small batch cut and sew manufacturer based in Grand Rapids, and Lisa Knight, who is vice president of Urban League of West Michigan. Lisa and Janay are collaborating to manufacture a minimum of 50,000 face masks for medical personnel in light of the shortage of supplies our healthcare industry is facing as COVID-19 develops in our communities. So Janay Browerer, Lisa Knight, tell me about yourselves and tell me about how you're collaborating to meet the need in the healthcare system right now.
Well, she's looking at me, so I guess that's me first. Lisa Knight, actually DV Apple Logistics, was riding down the street and just had a epiphany, and I text or sent a message to Janay, and I said, there's a need, there's a huge need, we're not going to be able to get it anywhere else, how can we do this? How can we put this together? Immediately she said, yeah, we can do this, let's make it happen. So we just started calling our networks, calling our friends, putting word out into the community, and beginning to reach out to make this happen, because we realize that everything that we need is right here. We can do it right here. We can be innovative, we can be creative, we can be thought leaders in this space, and it's time for us to just band together and make it happen.
Yeah. And before we were recording, Janay, you were saying that what's going on right now with you guys coming together to create a system around meeting this need is really in line with what Public Thread does anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were formed to be able to, provide a local resource for cut and sew, so we can actually start to make things back in our community, connect people back to who's making our products, pay them living wages, and be thoughtful about the environment in the process. And what we found was that there's so much material available, particularly textiles, that aren't being diverted from the landfill en masse. And so as we kept going, we saw, wow, there's so much stuff here. Okay, let's try to acquire this and figure out what we can make out of it and design around it. And so through this particular crisis, it is a full retooling of how to figure out what we need to be able to design and make and produce en masse masks that can keep people safe and healthy while they're doing whatever it is they're doing, whether in healthcare or just communicating throughout the community. But our focus really is on how do you use what already exists. And we know that the materials are here. We've partnered with Notions Marketing already. They donated a huge supply of material that we can use. I actually just got another message from Chaco, who's trying to help also support this. Steelcase is interested in supporting. Other manufacturers in the community are interested in how do we band together and use what we have. And so, the reality is, just like Lisa said, we have the materials, we have the ideas, the creativity, the talent. And so we really need to figure out how to solve or do what we can to mitigate this crisis, but also continue to think about how do we build infrastructure for these kinds of things in the future so that we know that we can solve problems when they come up like this. And we do have the people, the resources, and the know-how to do this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it seems like that could be a positive. One of many positives that will probably come out of this crisis is a new way of doing things, and a new way of approaching things that are sustainable and are responsive.
And I think the other key thing here, too, is that we calibrate away from only cost. Because I think what's really important here is that, yes, people can definitely band together and donate their time and volunteer and stuff, but the reality is we need to ensure that people are being compensated for their work across the community all the time, right? All the time. And so the value of understanding what it takes to make things, whether it's making face masks out of materials or whether it is, producing any other kind of part or anything in the manufacturing space, really trying to reconnect to the humans that make this stuff, and that there's expertise, particularly in sewing. We've really lost that expertise in mass in a lot of ways, but a lot of it is still here, and so we have to value that.
That's such a great point. One of the strengths of our community is the volunteerism, but that also creates
doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah, it creates this expectation of not compensating. It kind of creates an expectation of donating your time or your treasures or your talents. And that's not really a reality for some people. And for, you know, crises like are happening right now, being able to depend on functioning infrastructure in which people are compensated seems like the most effective way to meet the needs of a crisis.
Well, I mean, exactly. We have businesses that have shut down, right?
Yeah.
People that are, and a good portion of those people are in a service business. So they don't have anything to lean on, right?
Yeah.
You have people that are hair shop owners and nail shop owners and things like that don't have anything to fall back on, right?
Yeah.
So how are they able to be compensated? Well, we all have other skills and talents. We typically don't use them all. So this is an opportunity for people to step back and think about, okay, what else am I good at that I can utilize to help support my community in a way that not only helps the people that are in need, but also keeps people from being in the unemployment line, right?
Yeah.
Or not being able to feed their families. They can put a little bit of money in their pocket. So we're just circulating those funds back through the community instead of reaching out to other countries, right, to supply the things that we really have here, and we can figure out how to do it. And we're just sitting in this room using our brains, putting together our thoughts, and trying to figure out how do we make this better? How do we do this? This is how the world was created, right? And this is how big business was created. But why can't we just keep big business here and help support our community and keep those dollars here in the community?
So tell me about the masks. As I've been here for a little while, kind of watching what's going on right now, and you guys are solving problems that are emerging from like second to second and collaborating and just taking action on it. So you're working very quickly. So tell me about the masks. Are they going to be like a 100% perfect substitute for N95?
I wish.
Yeah.
You know, that would be the goal. That would be the real goal. I think right now, we are trying to figure this out because we know that just 2 layers of cotton fabric is not sufficient to be able to protect people from this virus, and that is protecting people from the virus is the point. It is not, we're not making this for looks or any kind of funny whatever. So we are trying to source to figure out what kind of filter material could go in there that's also safe for people to breathe. And because of the heat and all of that, we want to make sure that people are safe in this process. But we also want to ensure that we produce some kind of barrier for people who particularly are working in the hospital and in the healthcare industry. Can it have some assurance?
Right.
But this is not a guarantee, and we don't know. And so we're trying to do our best to come up with like a secondary solution to an immediate problem. And ideally over time, we'll be able to refine and figure out what is the right thing to make here.
Right.
So we're trying to source different metal or different kind of things to be able to accommodate the nose, to make sure that it's tucked in appropriately, that there's not airflow, because airflow means virus can get in even if you're protecting your mouth. And so, we're trying to think through all of these things and again, just figure out what do we have. So we have Chaco straps that have been donated to us. All right, well then how can we use those for ties if we can't get any more elastic, So we're trying to source again around what do we have as a community. I think the hardest part is just, trying to get the design right in a time crunch scenario. And we don't have the scientific ability to, do a test for 12 months and make sure. So, we're trying to do our best, but I think what we're trying to do is like a next level from someone just taking a pattern off Etsy and, just kind of making it at home, which is, no issue on that. Just trying to elevate this to a level of safety that hopefully has a little bit more to it.
How many masks what's the goal?
I mean, at this point, we know 50,000 is kind of a baseline, but we know, with all of the medical facilities, most of the places are shut down, but if people are serving nursing homes, care facilities, elderly places, everybody needs them. We all need them.
The major hospitals.
Right, and
No,
I
it's
mean,
like
what they're
areas,
saying, people, we operate out of fear, and when we operate out of fear, we do crazy things. So
There you go.
people are walking around wanting to get masks.
Yeah.
If you're not sick, you don't need a mask. You don't need it. But it's the people that are dealing with not only the people who are already ill, filling the beds in the hospitals, but those that haven't been tested that are on their way to the hospital, right? We're looking at the capacity of the hospitals even having enough beds. We don't have enough beds, right? To take care of the people that are truly ill. So we want to make sure that we're doing the best possible work for the people who really need it. So we're not trying to, like Janay said, we ain't trying to make no cute little accessory for somebody to walk around with all day long. We're trying to make something that it's not the exact replacement for what is out there, but it's a substitute that is has some quality to it, because we are concerned about the people who are out there doing this work and the people who also may be ill and may be spreading this, right? So we want to try to get ahead of it as much as possible. Again, we don't have the perfect solution. We don't have a couple of years to do any testing.
You're right.
We're trying to make it happen right now. We could sit back and think all day long, but then we're not acting. So we want to act, but we want to be responsible in that.
So are you working with Spectrum Health?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So are they actually accepting masks right now, or are they anticipating that they will be?
I think we need to come up with our final so what our communication to them directly, at least mine, I mean, Lisa might have something as well, but like my direct communication to them, the people who are in their sort of the little network of people who are crisis response right now, is that they're not taking fabric en masse. Individual nurses and people who are working in the hospital are doing that because they don't have an alternative. As an organization, they're not taking them, but we are working to talk to them about what we are trying to do to, again, add another layer of safety and, just barrier within the masks that we would create. And then what we're talking about here is not only having people potentially sewing here 8 feet apart, but also creating kits that go to people in the community that have said, I am willing to help in my home, I have a machine, I know how to sew, based on some criteria that you haven't been traveling internationally or domestically within this last 2 weeks, and that you are not compromised and feeling sick. And if you are doing that, then what we'll have to do is we'll have to bring kits to people with the materials cut, all ready to go, instructions and all of the stuff. And so then people will just be responsible for making them, and then we have to pick it up. So we're going to have to create a whole distribution network for how to do that across the community, but also then doing majority, like some, I don't know if it's the majority, but we're going to make some here at the shop too. So
you guys are fully creating an infrastructure here. You're creating a supply chain, a delivery system, manufacturing.
Which is why we need compensation to ensure that people can pay their, be able to get gas and buy food for themselves and their families, even though we're only talking about a couple bucks each one. We still, this is real. This is real, because this is a real response to a real issue.
It is. And what I have been hearing, as well as the same thing from Janay, is that even what we're making right now is a drop in the bucket to what's going to be needed. Especially if they've already seen the decline. This has been a couple of weeks now. They've been talking about it.
Right.
Now we're there. We're at that space. And when healthcare workers that may be pregnant or their system may be compromised and have different things going on that are saying, look, I can't use one mask for the whole day, when their standards were changing those masks every 30 minutes. That's not happening anymore. We have to be able to help them do their job, right? So it is our job and our responsibility to step up and do the best that we can.
What do you guys need right now from the community?
Supplies.
Anything in particular?
Dude, this interfacing, man, I need like non-woven, non-fusible interfacing, which is like a thin material that typically goes between layers of fabric to try and keep them together, provide a little stability. And so we need that. We're trying to figure out wiring around the nose area. So that's another material, some kind of wire that we can secure in mass. And I think, there's a high potential we might need more fabric, but I think I'm pretty confident we can acquire that, not a problem.
And then people that can sew.
People that can sew.
That know how to sew, and they can get in there and they can get it done, and they can pop these things out as quickly as possible.
So as I heard someone mention before, the sewing aspect is not necessarily for someone who wants to learn how to sew.
No, not right now. We want you to learn how to sew eventually.
Right.
We want that. We want to
get more people in, and this is probably be a nice process to get people to understand this is why we need you. This is a field where people have just pretty much dropped off. They don't do this anymore. My mom sewed and she did upholstery. She made all of our clothes. I used to make clothes for my kids, and I made clothes for other people. So this was something that we were doing all the time. But as the world has changed and manufacturing and all these other things have come, and we're not doing things by hand as much, right? It's automated. We forget that these are the things that are needed when everything else shuts down.
Right.
These are the skills that are needed. So
Yep.
we're calling for those skilled people, the people that have that talent, or even people who can think outside of the box and really
Okay.
help us come up with new ideas and better ways to create some of these things. That's great, but
Gotcha.
we're moving
Yeah.
quick. So we don't have time to wait.
What about people
Real time.
who can't sew? What do you guys need? People
Donate.
To cut
I think-
material, donate.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to figure out how to get a donation scenario
Okay.
because I doubt that we're gonna be able, because then that money can again be pooled and we can distribute that amongst people who are
Gotcha.
assisting in this because you know
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to afford paying people per hour
Yeah.
like I normally would, so this is going to be a per unit type of a thing, which is unfortunate but best we can do. You know, I can't charge what I would normally charge, but
It's better than nothing.
but it's better
Yeah,
than
it's
nothing,
better than
and we're also just trying to drop in and do this all of us unexpectedly. So yeah, I think really as these hours go by, we'll figure out what kind of, you know, if there's like a PayPal or something that can go in and we can figure out what those resources are to be able to purchase other stuff if we have to or to compensate people. Yeah,
Is there
think we
anything
should-
else you guys want to say about what's going on right now?
Dude, this community is like really cool. That's all I have to say. Is like, I mean, it is really cool that this many people, even despite the fear of this thing really taking people out, this is really cool how people have stepped up, and not only in
It
this
is.
community but across the country because this is obviously so unprecedented. I mean, I'm just like, I knew there was a lot of sewists in the community. I didn't know there's this many. You know, like that's really
That's
amazing. That's like I want to work with these people. I want to be like, oh, you guys can make stuff. Like, how can we all make things? We all want to get through this healthy. With as few people getting sick or hurt as possible. So, I mean, I think this is an amazing opportunity for us to show what we're really made of.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you both so much. Thank you for listening to Inspired Voices. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Janay and Lisa as much as I did. I do have an addendum to add to that podcast as we received an update from Janay after recording. So I'm just going to read out loud what she sent me in regards to their progress and their change in direction. Janay says, Spectrum just said they are going to start asking for mass donations, but are not adding any suppliers at this time. I am now connected to Detroit, and their system is working to have an FDA-approved mask and potentially new material in collaboration with some national clothing brands in order to potentially use a different fabric and material. Just wanted to let you know that whatever masks we make now are not necessarily for Spectrum. So that's the update from Janay. We're going to continue to check in with Janay and Lisa as they make progress towards their goal. We're going to continue to put these podcasts out on a regular basis, bringing you interviews with women in the community who are rising to the occasion and doing extraordinary things to help right now in this time of crisis, as well as women who are just adjusting to the new normal, whatever that looks like, as well as insights from experts on what we can expect as COVID-19 continues to impact our lives and our community. To get connected with us, please visit www.womenslifestyle.com and sign up for our newsletter. Keep an eye on this Facebook page for more podcasts to come.